Opponents of the death penalty will tell you that the murder rate has increased since the death penalty was reestablished back in 1976. And the following is true. However, a survey by the New York Times found that states without the death penalty have a lower murder rate than those with the death penalty. And as you can see here in this graph, or this chart, the percent difference over time between the murder rate of death penalty states and the murder rate in non-death penalty states is steadily increasing, and so is the lessening of the murder rate in all states. Research reported in Homicide Studies Volume 1 and Volume 2, May 1999, indicates that executions may actually increase the number of murders rather than deter murders. During the last 20 years, the homicide rate in the United States with the death penalty has been 48 to 101% higher than in states without the death penalty. Author Ernie Thompson's examined critical homicides in Los Angeles before and after the execution of Robert Harris in 1992, the state's first execution after a 25-year moratorium. Thompson found slight increases in homicides during the 8 months following his execution. Now that we've established that capital punishment is not an effective deterrent, let's look at how enforcing the death penalty actually costs significantly more rather than not enforcing it. In a report titled The Budgetary Repercussions of Capital Convictions by Catherine Baker from the National Bureau of Economic Research, an estimate concluded that between the years 1982 and 1997, the extra cost of capital trials was $1.6 billion. These extra costs are believed to be managed partly by reducing expenditures spent on highways and police, and largely by increasing taxes. In California, the additional cost of confining an inmate to death row as compared to maximum security prisons where they're sentenced to life without possibility of parole is $900,000 per year per inmate. $90,000 per year per inmate. A new report by the California Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice has found that the death penalty costs California taxpayers $137 million each year. The cost of a system which imposes only lifetime incarceration instead of the death penalty would be only around $11 million per year, which is a significant difference. In a majority of, if not all, states with death penalty statutes, millions of dollars could be saved by instead convicting others to life imprisonment alone. Money wasted on capital punishment could be spent on more effective violence prevention programs and on other services that would actually make our communities safer, like child care abuse prevention programs, alcohol abuse prevention programs, mental health care programs, education, and services for victims of crime. According to the DPF board member Nancy Oliveira, published in the San Francisco Chronicle, that using the $116 million taxpayers would save by not implementing capital punishment, that could result in 1,900 new highway patrol officers, 2,100 new teachers, and 103 students at the University of California. Lastly, let's examine the most important factor in why capital punishment should be abolished: the possible execution of the innocent. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, in an article titled "Stop the Execution of the Innocent," statistics showed that 1 in 7 people sent to death row were later proven innocent. In perhaps the closest case, a prisoner was released just 48 hours before being sentenced to death. Since 1976, a total of 8 people have been executed despite strong evidence of their innocence. From the News Observer, in an article titled "Death Row Inmate Granted New Trial," a man named Alan Gell was released from prison after 5 years on North Carolina's death row, when it was discovered the 2 witnesses who testified against them lied to the police. These 2 witnesses were actually 2 15-year-old girls who had actually committed the crime themselves, which is hard to believe, understandably. However, Mr. Gell was also, at the time of his victim's death, he was also in jail for a previous crime of car theft. This means that the prosecutors actually knew of Mr. Gell's innocence, and it took 2.5 years to retry him. Lastly, I would like to present to you a hypothetical situation in which I want you to mentally select 2 people in your life who you consider most meaningful to you. And I want you to label one as person A, and I want you to label the other one as person B. Now, unfortunately, person A is brutally murdered, and the person who murdered person A is indeed guilty of their crime. Now, in this situation, you are going to be the United States justice system. You are not the jury or the judge, you're the justice system. So what that means is that you get to decide what happens to the murderer of person A. Now, however, there's a little twist in that person B is also convicted of the exact same crime as the murderer of person A. Now, the jury decides that person B, although I will tell you that person B is innocent, the jury does not agree with that and decides that person B is guilty. Now, whatever you decide as the fate of person A's murderer must also be decided for person B. So I have to ask you, in this situation, would you rather seek vengeance upon the murder of person A, or let person B, the innocent, live and hopefully later be exonerated and have evidence found in favor of their innocence? Okay. In conclusion, we have reviewed many reasons why the death penalty is cruel, costly, and most importantly, unnecessary. Statistically speaking, it does not reduce the number of death penalty-related crimes. It costs more to enforce a death penalty rather than to not, and above all else, there is even the slightest possibility, in fact, there is a strong probability that innocent people could have already been, and could be executed. In conclusion, I would like to quote Agnes Heller, a Holocaust survivor and a professor of philosophy at the New School for Social Research. She presents an inherent paradox in capital punishment when she states, "If you support the death penalty, and only one innocent person is killed, and killing an innocent person is murder, then you become murderers. So you also deserve to be killed. This is the paradox of the death penalty, and you cannot avoid this paradox."